It's October 11th, 2016. Dana Durnford, your host, nuclearproctologist.org. We're up on YouTube. So please give us a share if you're familiar with this site. Thumbs up is a good thing. Let's get these graphics out of the way, because I got a tendency to jump into graphics and lose track late in the game. So if you got Facebook, share me. Twitter, share me. But be warned, trolls will show up if you mention my name. To invoke Fukushima is to invoke instant attacks. Subscribe, put me in your bookmarks is probably a better idea. Take your windmills. I know, Dana, you're not going to say it, are you, Dana? Put it on a hill where the wind blows all the time? Jeez, why do something like that? That'll put nuclear out of business, and coal, and oil, and gas, all at the one time. What do you hate the industries? Yeah, Dana. See, activism is something new. We usually got rid of our problems, okay? Dinosaurs couldn't do it. Fake Hollywood super weirdos couldn't do it. Putting people up in space is not going to solve the problems from the nuclear power plants wrecking our planets, okay? Are you a flat earther? Yeah? Is the earth flat? What, like the moon? Or what, like all the meteorites? Is it flat like the meteorites? Is it flat like the sun? Don't feel bad, you got sucked into it, okay? Yeah, the earth is flat like all the other planets in the solar system, Dana. Okay. Fail. So we can, what? Go up a little ways into space and just take all our natural precious metals, resources, and our top talents to get us up to there, and then utilize it to spy and send missiles down to kill more of us. Literally the stupidest, we're the stupidest versions of humans that have showed up so far. Yeah, we can put a thing up in space, but when we travel in space, we'll go blind. Well, men will. Women can. So, you know, what do you want out of it? You want just bigger, badder, scarier, more robotic, dummy-looking people as a society? Everybody wants the aliens to come solve their problems. You know, robots, you just got to build bigger robots each time. And we have real robots, they're called nuclear drones. Not many talk about that. And if you do talk about nuclear, the herd will come after you and they're violent thugs, yeah? Nobody celebrates people like me because people like me are not given an opportunity the same as the rest of the demons. My version is not allowed to be used as a comparison. You're fed fake people like Spider-Man, that's your hero. A fake comic book now is people's general kids' superheroes. Or worse, the other fables. Think about this, the Hulk. Once again, nuclear waste? Really? You got krypton that'll kill you if you ingest it from a nuclear reactor, but somehow it's good now because it's in a comic book. You base these characters, they can withstand the nuclear radiation, and you even marry these together so that they have those connotations. And the trolls will come out and wreck everything. Look how much muscle they got. Look how much energy they got. That's a troll.
Daddy needs to express some rage.
And now we have endless superheroes coming at us. Yeah, they just make them up as they go along to be the major distraction for everybody. That's a little much, I know, for the first thing in the morning. They spent 5 months doing graphics. Crap. Who the hell does that? I do. We had a good question yesterday. How far is far enough to live from a nuclear plant? And is there a safe zone? That's an actual brilliant question. We'll get to that. Before I get to it, a basic way to put it is no. There's no safe zone within, say, 200 miles of a nuclear power plant. And there's no safe zone on the planet from a nuclear power plant because it releases isotopes. Once it starts running for a few years and reactor cores are put in the ponds with no containment and everything is evaporated, 120,000 liters a day is evaporated, and a liter could have hundreds of millions of becquerels of just a single isotope. And it does, of course. These fuel ponds are... There's so much radiation. So here's another way of looking at it. When you shut off a chain, you can't actually shut it off, but when you take the fuel out of the reactor, after being through its cycle for a year, 12 months, 14 months, it continues to split the atoms for infinity. We store it in ponds. It boils off the ponds all day, every day. 120,000 liters is typical. That is mixed with the millions of gallons a minute that is boiled off of salt water, say, and every glass of salt water is 1 billion creatures. But anyway, they mix all this together and they release it into your community, and there's 6 times more breast cancer, etc., etc., etc. So nuclear spreads around the planet, and it just can float around for 1 billion years. So there's nowhere safe in your planet, in your atmosphere, once you fired up a nuclear power plant. But certainly, within 50 miles of it, we see snowstorms and adverse conditions from the moisture. Right, just wherever the wind is blowing all the million gallons a minute, we can see snowstorms for tens of kilometers away in in the right conditions. So that tells you that it's at least 30 to 50 miles. Is heavily, you can get an inch of snow in a few hours in the right condition from the fallout from just the evaporation of the normal, which is not normal, but because you're boiling 1 billion creatures, 16 million glasses of water, with each glass has 1 billion creatures. You have to do the math yourselves. It's a staggering amount. I'm going to start to show off. We got a few video clips today. We got some crazy headlines today. These are, the nuclear industry is just batshit crazy. This particular lady, I'm very fond of her, what she has done or tried to do and has been able to accomplish. She's been shut down many times. She makes mistakes. She's not a nuclear scientist or academic, so that's acceptable. But she does bring in this wealth. She's one of the unusual places, Chicago University, this little nook in Chicago University where there's a bit of a resistance for quite a long time, long before I showed up against the nuclear industry. I've been at this a long time, but like before I showed up, right? 9 years ago or whatever. I was at this long before that, but I wouldn't show myself. I wish, if I had known what I would know now, I wouldn't have done it. I would never have shown myself. And I would have been they're not going to go down that road, but yeah. I wouldn't have been, never mind. Anyway, so I got to play this clip. It's 1 minute and 33 seconds. She talks about, it's just a clip from a lecture where she talks about the last nuclear plants are closing on that day. In just a few minutes, they were scheduled to close. And I just want to see that excitement again. I like that. Feeling.
Now, we're at this moment of nuclear zero. As many of you know, May 5th is Children's Day in Japan. This is a special Children's Day. In a few minutes, about the time our first keynote speaker, Mr. Koide, begins to speak, the last commercial reactor of the 50 currently operating in Japan will shut down for routine maintenance. And as you know, there's a special relationship between children and radiation because they are particularly vulnerable. The vulnerability of precious beings who, generation after generation, literally renew our senses to the preciousness of life is a dark reminder that the technology that was to remove drudgery from our existence threatens that very existence. This moment of so-called nuclear zero, the best gift to the children of Japan, this was a message conveyed to me by Professor Ono Yugo, emeritus of Hokkaido University, and one of the chairpersons of a lawsuit to stop this last nuclear reactor that's going into shutdown now forever. And I think it's a thought that many people have had, that this is the best gift for Children's Day to the children of Japan.
So that's, to me, I mean, that's such a great clip. You know, because it reminds us of how many people understand we're not alone in the solar system of nuclear per se, is one way to look at it. These are the wicked reactors. Just 6 pictures. And so there's a major earthquake that was described as a 5.9, but after many tries, I finally found a media that said it was on the Japanese seismic scale, and then found another one. I found 3 total. The rest of them didn't tell you what scale it was. So a 5.9 is on the 1 to 7 scale, not the 1 to 10 scale, which everybody else on the planet uses. Japan got their own scale to hide it. And so the Canadian media, the American media, done the same thing for them and hit it that way. But it was an 8.4. So the plume that's over Europe lines up perfectly. Now this is CBC back in the day showing you that building, and then below it was the picture of the beautiful fuel reactor. But the reactor looked like that at the time. So they were faking the picture. So the earthquake can start a chain reaction or excite a chain reaction, or stuff will fall down on top of the chain reaction. Another plume is liberated into the environment. And that's what showed up over Europe. We're going to get into the headlines coming up in a bit. And so the buildings were 190 feet. This is reactor 3. This is a 190-foot apartment building to give you some kind of context. And the next clip is about the Radiation Protection Agency, who they are, and how they manage to deceive and trick everybody in their own words. This is their own words coming up. But I'll bring this picture up large. So the picture on your left is the same height as the picture on your right. There's no damage to the picture on your left, but the one on the right needs maintenance. Okay, Dana, stop being a word. I take it for granted everybody, when you see the picture, can work it out. I assume everybody's smart enough to understand there's something more going on. So when I show you those 2 pictures and I tell you they're both the official picture of the same video, everybody on the planet, you walk up and ask them, can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference? So people should take this one picture and put the official picture of reactor 4 and the official picture of reactor 4. Put it in your local newspapers with a contest of winning a gift card for $50 or something, if you can tell which reactor is not the right reactor. Imagine doing that on advertisement on TV, and just one day you wake up the whole country. Can you tell the difference? Win a $50 gift card. Everybody like, honey, I want you to rewind it. I want a screen capture of it. I'm going to study it. I think I could tell. There's $50 at stake here. That's the reality, see? And everybody will sit around the supper table. Come on, folks. Come on, kids. Get serious. We can win $50 if we can figure out which billion is not the real billion. Daddy, I can't tell the difference. It's okay, son. It's okay, daughter. You'll get it. Just take your time and think about it. There was an explosion. I can't think. It's too hard. It caught fire. I can't think. You give me too much information. It blew up. I'd never get it now. Is that how scientists, children and wives and brothers and sisters, when the nuclear scientist says it's okay, is that what they say? Well, I thought I saw a blown up building, but my loved one works for the nuclear industry. He said, oh, it was fine. Or is everybody hypnotized? Is everybody asleep? Is everybody unconscious? Is everybody in some kind of weird matrix and I'm not aware of it? Except for us, we're it. Because that would make some sense. That would actually make me feel a little tiny bit better. But see, when you talk about an industry for 74 years that lied and told us it was like a banana, it was like a potato chips, like walking in the sunshine, it's like getting on an airplane, then you got to wonder, right? So this is Catherine Higley. She treats children for cancer. And sets policies and in lectures tell everybody it's like a banana or a potato chip walking in the sunshine. So, like if I come from another planet, I could get it, right? I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is a kooky place, eh? But I'm actually from this planet, I think. And I gotta admit, this is kooky shit. Just get a load of this. So, you see Miles O'Brien, the one-armed bandit, he was on top of Reactor 4 that doesn't even exist, right? He done a video where he claimed he was inside a beautiful pool over there that's allegedly on top of the building that don't exist. Miles. The Japanese guy is TEPCO's main guy. He fakes the building, shows beautiful building. This guy, this goblin in the corner here, he's with Kelp Watch, and I got some stuff on Kelp Watch here. Scumbags, eh? And the lady in the white is the NRC, and then the guy next to Higley who stood up there, Kathleen Higley stood up, is the head of the National Press Club, another goblin, right? So this clip is 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and this is probably one of the most important clips to use to beat up the industry with in the future. So I'll get out of the way, turn my volume down so there's no interference in case you screen capture this for later. I suggest everybody get their hands on this clip.
When I was trying to pull this talk together, not only will I sort of get a little philosophical about the impacts and the like and try to put things in context, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about who are these radiation experts that get trotted out in events like this, or that get to participate in various activities and analysis to make pronouncements about is something safe or not safe. And if you look, you'll see organizations that are often represented. The ICRP, International Commission on Radiological Protection, a premier organization. You'll see UNSCEAR and IRPA. So UNSCEAR is the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation. IRPA, the International Radiation Protection Association. The IAEA and some of its folks, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Our own U.S. NCRP. And then there are a number of other organizations. So there's PAHO, there's a Health Physics Society, there's World Health Organization. All of these will bring in, as necessary, experts to speak to you on issues related to radiation protection, radiation safety, and impacts. But if you go a little deeper and you start looking at these organizations,
Okay. I'm going to stop it right there. Yank myself in, maybe. And remind you that what she's alluding to coming up, just to clarify for everybody, all these organizations are the exact same people. You've got to remember that part when you talk about it or think about it or have conversations about it or go out and rally against it or anything like that. I strongly recommend the latter.
ICRP, for example, very well known. It's been operating nearly 100 years, not quite. Main commission, 10 people. It's got 5 standing committees, so it's 100-ish folks. I lead one of the 5 committees. If you look at the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation that looked at the effects from Chernobyl, from Fukushima, from other areas, and that has about 30, roughly, countries that are represented in that group. If you start teasing through these pictures, you're going to see the same people on every one of those organizations. So the same people from ICRP are on UNSCEAR, they're in IRPA. If you look at the NCRP, again, the U.S. organization that advises the country on radiation protection issues, it's 100 people, a lot of gray-haired 100 people. And most of them are part of UNSCEAR, are part of IRPA, are part of ICRP, participate in IAEA. So the result, or the real world, is that there's not that many folks that really do radiation safety, radionuclide transport, dose calculations, all of this in the world. It's a pretty small club. And we wear 20 hats. Today I put on 3 pins, and I could put on a whole bunch more, but Health Physics Society, ICRP, Certified Health Physicist, I've got NCRP on there, I've done IAEA, and so the point is, we're a small group, you should cherish us.
That was the press club laughing. Plus the goblins up front, right? But that was the press club, that's the press, journalists sat there, yucking it up. And so we live in this bizarre world where demons are given to press clubs and people like me are vilified, demonized, and given 6 gag orders. They're given millions of dollars each year. And I think people like Katie, who got us the underwater drone, and Mr. D, David, who got us the gimbal, and Lady E, who got us the drone, and to Lady V, Veronica, who doesn't mind me using her name. And I don't like doing this to people, but I thank her and everybody else also. I don't like layering anybody over. Somebody donated $1 or someone donated $5 or $1,000 or what. I mean, every nickel is precious, and the more, obviously, more precious. But once again, everybody plays such an important role. And then we get to this stage where we have a full-blown show. Full-blown. Hardcore, we bring you unbelievable clarity, footage. It's such a humbling thing. Because it's a real organization, it's a real movement, it's a real entity. It has a huge, massive impact. When we hit it right, and we do many times, obviously, the impacts are so far-reaching we can never comprehend it. But see, we bring this thing together. I can't do this without doing it live, because that's the only time I feel that I'm calm. The rest of the time, I'm just struggling for information and then to verify and vet everything before we start to show her. I just want to clarify things like that. But like, see, I would love to thank everybody every day, all day, but nobody wants to hear that, except for the people maybe that done it. Outside of that, you know, I can't possibly be able to thank people enough. I just can't. I don't know how, outside of to be successful at some point and be able to pay everybody back. It's just my dream, right? That's my personal dream, my personal wish, and my personal mission. And nobody wants anything back. But that still doesn't change what happened to me, even if I accomplish that. That still doesn't change the gravity of what everybody done. See? It can't. It has nothing to do with it. Outside of it made me feel good that I got to a position where I could give it back, and maybe they can use it to help themselves or somebody else again, right? Or whatever. But it's just that being able to look at the opposition and say, see, you know, that someone like me really are not supposed to exist, don't have the ability to exist previous to this, but I was able to leverage the internet and the documentation, the information into a position where we can find out and flush out the industry really well. Now we've taken it to where we've done expeditions on the coastline of British Columbia, Canada, Just pop that up for 1 second before we start the show. This is what we're all about. At some point. All the arrows are in the Zodiac and equipment. We go out and we do species counts, insect, birds, mammals, animals. But I'm also a nuclear expert, and we're going to just demonstrate that coming up here in an incredible amount of information. And we've already started in on it to get everybody acclimated to it. So boots on the ground, that's my little doggy, and she's 15. She passed away in my arms last year out on the boat on a bird count. And so I go out, and I also, now we have it underwater submergible, so I don't have to experience this. And I didn't mind it, but it's just, you soak in wet every day, all day. It's miserable. And so I put the camera underwater is one thing I do. And I'm going to wait for the camera to bring up. Come back up here in a second. And we're soaking wet, but we don't care. We're still up in the water. We don't care. And then when I leave, watch this, the Zodiac. See the Zodiac to the right? The pontoon there is collapsed. So I get the motor pulled over. And all the weight on that side, on the other side, I'm sitting on the other pontoon, leaning over, trying to make it back to the mothership, which is a long way away, several miles away. It's blowing just on the other side of the island pretty strong. Inside is blowing 25 or 30. This is a Narrows called Dolomite Narrows. It's way down the tip, the southerly tip of the Haida-Gwaii, Queen Charlotte's, formerly known as the Queen Charlotte's, Haida-Gwaii rather. But this was a daily thing, but this video really tells the story with the collapsed pontoon of how far I go to get things done constantly. And so no more of those days. No more of those days. And now we have all the equipment to go back out. We have underwater submergibles now. And just to give you some context, we go up, we get on the beaches, we do species counts. And species to your left are the species in the same spot. These are the authentic same pictures before and after. And I'll bring up some of them to give you some real context. This is the same spot. This is Louise Narrows. It's accessible from Queen Charlotte City in Haida-Gwaii. You fly into Prince Rupert and you can get a ferry across and get a taxi, water taxi down here. It's not that far down the coast. Those things are super fast, right? But what I done was went down and done species counts as we get ready to start the show. We're looking for the species to your left. They're gone. This was because of the Fukushima fallout. I've done the whole coastline, and this is for sure. So the plume works this way. This is NOAA's model of the plume coming up. It doesn't jump sometimes, right away. So the plume of the Fukushima, what you see there is the radioactive fallout from Fukushima. See, it never stops coming out. And then another one explodes. They change the color basically to signify it. Is what you see sometimes. So we have many models of the fallout. When it hits the mountains, it washes back down to your coastline, but it's pouring constantly into the ocean over there and the atmosphere. Xenon releases. France had models. This is France's models. There's many models out there. Canada's models, a covered radioactive fallout. We had so many models showing the fallout coming in. Just endless models, and they're not based up on the actual reactors, yeah? They're not. So, when you see...
For example.
When you see these goblins, they denied all that happened. The University of Hawaii sends emails titled "In the Event of a Nuclear Attack." And before I forget about it, and I got no right to ask, but I'm going to ask, We still got to raise about $2,000 for the lens that I was showing in the last couple of days. I'm not going to drag up right this second, but maybe. But I'm just reminding people that I didn't raise the money for it. The money we raise is already accounted for, right? And Veronica had donated $2,000 for the ferry, and that's still going to be sitting there. I can't touch that. And for the ferry and the gas to get up to the Queen Charlotte to start the expedition. I still haven't got the trailer fixed, and I still haven't got the lens. The lens is $2,000, and I'll get the trailer at some point, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, keeping everybody up to date on this, because we're going to tow the boat up and do the whole coastline again in 2 weeks. And I won't be back until next summer sometime. Hopefully I can make it back in the spring, but I don't. We're late now because we're waiting for a carburetor for the little Zodiac, because that brand new engine, the choke was plastic and it goes right in the carburetor, breaks off. It should have been metal, right? These are brand new 8 horsepower 4-stroke Yamaha. It is definitely shouldn't have been broken. Absolutely not. But you got to get the whole carburetor. You can't just get that little piece. See? Hawaii. Now I'll start off a little bit slow, but University of Hawaii, which buried the Fukushima fallout over and over and over, and equated it with potassium-40, much like Kelp Watch does, was coming up. These are fables, by the way. University of Hawaii sends email titled "In the event of a nuclear attack from..." So they sent out an email to fearmonger everybody on the island in the academic community and get the conversation on social network and everything else moving again, as if Kim Jong was like North Korea was going to attack Hawaii. These are ludicrous assertions. The American military recently practiced missile defense tests both off Hawaii and the West Coast because of North Korea. Wait a second. This is the same military that got 7 million refugees now in Syria when all the homes are destroyed, trying to help them from 10,000 ISIL? This is the same military that rapes 29,000 a year of their own? This is the same military where 22 veterans commit suicide every day, homeless and destitute? This is the same military that's got 5 million orphans in Afghanistan? Is this the same military? This is the same military that fired 5.5 million rounds a month for 10 years to get 10,000 Taliban. Right? They got 5 million orphans in Afghanistan to get 10,000 Taliban. You got millions dead, millions missing, millions unaccounted for, millions in refugee camps to get the same 10,000 Taliban. Then you went to Iraq, done the exact same thing. And who won the war? Well, it was Monsanto. This is the NRC being interviewed by another goblin. And I know Kevin Blanche met her and liked her, but I can assure you she's not a nice person. Kevin just doesn't understand the side that I'm going to show, that I've already shown about her, Barbara. She's a goblin. But this is a funny little clip of the NRC. We got some Harvard coming up, MIT's coming up. We got a pretty straightforward show today. Yeah, an extra trailer axles are probably more money on ferries, Elaine was mentioning, right? Exactly. And I didn't get an extra trailer, I just got the single one. This is the NRC.
We're here to get a briefing.
Now, the main guy is going to show up after, but he doesn't show up right away, so they got the other guy who's the main guy, and he's supposed to answer a question. Just get a load of this. It's only a minute and 30 seconds.
On the ongoing crisis associated with the nuclear power plants in Japan. I'm very privileged that we have the executive director for operations at the NRC here, Bill Borchardt.
I couldn't speculate on that.
An expert, a true expert as well.
Again, I wouldn't wish to speculate.
So we feel very blessed that you could come and stand in until the chairman comes, and we really do welcome you.
Again, I can't speculate.
Well, teaching all of us the lessons that we have to take away from what is happening.
I couldn't speculate on that. What we believe is a significant amount of fuel damage in the three operating reactors, units 1, 2, and 3, which were operating at the time of the earthquake. And then because of the spent fuel problems that are in Unit 4
Right.
of that reactor facility. All of those factors taken into combination, if that same type of source term, that same type of radiological problem existed in the United States, our recommendation to state governments would be to evacuate
Okay.
out to 50 miles.
Well, that's a really good point, because I'm asking you, do you know how many people live within 50 miles of San Onofre nuclear power plant?
I do not know.
Well, I'm going to tell you how many people. 7.4 million people.
7.4 million people have to evacuate if there's an accident. At any nuclear power plant, so Korea had 28 million needs to be evacuated if one of the fuel pools has an accident. They don't get to go back either. You got to evacuate the entire city. Tokyo is supposed to be evacuated. They're going to pay a brutal price in a couple of years for that. Another weird story we'll just touch on because it was there and I forgot to remove it. They're using a hover bike. This NRC, I'll bring that down here for after. We're going to get a couple in a row coming up. So remember, the NRC was saying all the reactors destroyed, right? And you have to evacuate 50 miles. But anyway, they're going to use hover bikes. They're like drones you ride, but they're pretty good. And they can hover 30, 40 feet over intersections in crazy spots and come down and land anywhere and jump out and grab you, right? So watch out. Because they're not going to arrest any corporations. They're not going to arrest the corrupt, despicable people like Mark Zuckerberg or Eric Schmidt or, right, the degenerates. Right? Because they got corporate personhood. They can't get a criminal record. Therefore, they keep committing crimes. So they can't arrest any nuclear industry, these people on their hover bikes. They can only arrest people for littering. So if I litter, they can arrest me. But if nuclear industry pollutes your whole country and kills an ocean, they can't arrest them. The NRC has to give them a fine. Nobody gets a criminal record in nuclear industry. Nobody. You can't get a criminal record. You can kill millions of people. All you can do is get a fine. Because they're corporate personhood. They're on the stock market. And so you can't put a corporation in jail, and then the directors, you can't hold them accountable because they got corporate protection. They got human rights from the corporation is the bad guy, not the people that are, right? So I can commit crime after crime after crime and say, no, it's the company done that, not me. Yeah, but you done it. Yeah, but you can't hold me accountable. The company wanted me to do it to make a profit. It's legal. It says there in the book, I'm allowed to make a profit. I'm allowed to lie and cheat and steal to make a profit like any other corporation on the stock exchange that has immunity. They have immunity, see? This was MIT. No, the last one was Harvard, or the NRC on the 16th. This is also March the 16th, 2011.
Firstly, units
I'll turn it
1
up.
through 3 are suffering core damage, accidents.
1, 2, 3.
Perhaps spent fuel pool accidents as well. The spent fuel pool
Look at the buildings.
is located at the top of the reactor building, which
Top.
in each case is damaged. Units 1 and 3, in fact, destroyed.
Destroyed. See?
Location.
In fact, destroyed. Let's play that again. So he says damaged and in fact destroyed.
The reactor building, which in each case is damaged.
Okay, and then he gulps.
Units 1 and 3, in fact, destroyed at that location.
In fact, destroyed. And hoverbike riding police, this is idiotic because all the police do is get people for smoking pot. They're not really police, they're fucking useless idiots able to fuck up people's lives. Excuse the language. Right? They can't arrest anybody of importance. Right? They can't go after the corrupt bankers or the corrupt businesses. No, you got to go sue the business. You can't go after the business. You can't get them arrested for fucking you up, stealing everything from you. Like, they're shocking. Excuse the harshness, but we just killed the Pacific Ocean. Don't lose sight of why you're here.
I'd like to welcome our own students from nuclear science and engineering and other members of the community here at MIT, and also visitors, I think, from elsewhere.
And shortly after 3:30, there was a hydrogen explosion in the building of Reactor 1. So when of that explosion, not long after, the evacuation zone was extended to 20 kilometers radius. On Monday at 11 a.m., so this is now on the third day, there was a hydrogen explosion of building of Reactor 3. In the meantime, Reactor 2 fuel rods, what is reported to have been fully uncovered, and they quite soon began to inject seawater, borated seawater. At 6:14 a.m. on Tuesday, that's today, of course, but since they're 13 hours ahead of us, that was quite a while ago now, there was a third explosion. This was in Reactor 2. This was inside, as far as we can tell, inside or near the containment. And another worry that arose was on that same day was that the Reactor 4 building, Reactor 4 is adjacent to Reactor 3, was observed to be aflame. And this was sort of at the same time that radiation levels were increasing further. There was a lot of suspicion that this fire was in the spent fuel pool. However, since that time, TEPCO has said that there was an oil leak in a water pump and that was what was the cause of the fire.
An oil leak in a fuel pump, and they put it out. Not the explosion. There was no explosion, there was an oil leak. That's what caused the fire. Yeah? And MIT got the pictures there, and they don't criticize TEPCO. They're the experts. And Harvard, I showed you, the experts. The experts. And that was on March the 15th. At MIT, March the 16th for Harvard, March the 16th for the NRC. Harvey Wiener-Stein's, holy, sexually abused everybody. Every woman he's ever come in contact with, groped her, molested her, raped her. Every single woman. Hollywood. And everybody hit it. All the Hollywood superstars hit it. you had to be perverted by him, raped and demoralized and degraded by him repeatedly if you wanted some kind of career in Hollywood. Because Hollywood's what? You couldn't get rid of a demon. See, this is the problem, right? The media was well aware of what he was up to. Journalists, universities, well aware of what he was up to. Nobody decided, because they're chickens. They're the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the inbreeds. That's what we're dealing with Hollywood, with media, all your media personalities. And then if you look at your universities, like, why would you trust somebody? I'm sure there's good people here, but you can't take a chance. You can't possibly take a chance. And one has to wonder how they slipped through. Right? What was their parents done? What was it their wives had done that allowed them to get the job? What happened in their life that allowed them to get the job when there's so many public relation firms shooting for that same job? I don't see any way you can trust a university. I see zero ways to trust any media. Absolutely impossible to even consider trusting a government official. It's pointless. Absolutely pointless. The government's so big, they don't even know how big they are. The government's so big, and powerful, nobody can hold anybody accountable. You can't get fired in the government. All you can do is be transferred. Completely out of control. It's completely dysfunctional. Your universities, your media, and your government are 100% captured by the lobbyists. We'll use that, which is a dirty word, lobbyist, which is just a dirty word. Several former employees told me that they were speaking about Weinstein's alleged behavior now because they hope to protect women in the future. Weinstein says he's going to go get counseling, so don't worry about it. This is how far he's above everybody else. I groped, raped a few women, big fucking deal. I'll get some counseling, it's okay, let's go. This wasn't a one-off, this wasn't a period of time. No, this was ongoing predatory behavior towards women, whether they consented or not. This is insiders, funny speaking out. He also said that it was not coincidental that he was organizing a foundation for women directors at the university. Really, a university? Not going to protect the women, they're going to take his money. Yeah? Which one did? Oh, the University of Southern California. And it'll be named after my ma. And I won't disappoint her. She raised a pervert, I'll continue to be a pervert, said the Weinstein Empire that raped, molested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vulnerable people. Literally children, lots of them young actors were children, literally children. He also said it was not coincidental. Really? Why not put him in jail? Why are you going to let him have a foundation at a university? What are you, stupidest people on the planet? Police and their hover bikes can't go arrest him. He drags your name through the mud and he'll come after you hard with legal team. They'll use the legal system. You got a bunch of lawyers like, yeah, we'll get her, man. Fucker wouldn't let you rape her. We'll get her, buddy. The next one will. The next one will let you rape her, Harvey. Don't worry, we'll get that one. We'll make sure everybody knows it. Harvey had all kinds of contacts in the media to smear any girl that wouldn't sleep with him. Huh? In the media. And the editors and producers all let it happen. I can see a big slaughter in the near future. The government is so corrupted. The media is so corrupted. The university is so corrupt, they're all just sitting ducks. The whole planet wakes up to one time, they're going to just gut these fuckers. Mysterious radiation. Ah, yes, the story we've been waiting for. What the hell have I got here that's blue? Oh, my house. Drop me down another millimeter or so. Hang on. Oh, I'm short now. I can't get up to the microphone. Dana, stop goofing around. Okay. Big bully. Dana, stop goofing around. Where's that camera? Ah! You gotta admit, it's pretty convincing when I don't, as long as I don't do that, my hands disappear. Everything looks pretty darn good. Yeah? Are you with me or not? Stop smurfing around. So complicated, right? Just to get to this point to sit here, and then I got screwed up by smurfing around once in a while because I'm like, I worked all night, all day, and all I gotta do is go click, and it's all over. Everybody like, big whoop. Okay. See, nuclear is bad because when you have an accident, it's forever. The releases could last forever for the entire human experience. A meltdown is a billion times worse than a nuclear bomb. Nuclear bomb it's all done. There you go. Stay out of that spot there. The bomb blew up there. Stay out of 1,000 miles around. You can get an extra 50 years out of your country. But you can't get rid of nuclear. It assimilates into the plant, into the trees, into the rocks, into the steel. It contaminates everything it comes into contact with. It contaminates everything it comes into contact with. You can literally, if you have air running over the reactor fuel, you radiate it to air. If your wind is blowing over the fuel like Fukushima blowing out plants, you're radiating the air. Let's talk about that for a second. We never talk about that anymore. We used to talk about that years ago. So wind blowing over the building radiates the air. It's as simple as that. Radiates the air. Think about the building as a great big furnace that heats the air never cools off. Think about it that way. How about that? So you got this 150-foot wide stream of hot air that blows all around the world, and the temperature never cools off. Because that's actually true, because it's radioactive isotope. It never goes away. It pulses every second. It never cools off. Okay? All right? So the wind blowing over that is catastrophic to your country. Because it's not like it's going to blow for 1 day or 2 days or in one direction or out to sea all day. And those plumes get blown. They don't disperse per se. They disperse, but they don't cool off. They still have that effect. A peck ever comes by, it can give you cancer. A single isotope can give you cancer 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. But we're not talking about that kind of pipe dream anymore. We're talking about in your food, in your water, that you cook your food in your water you're drinking, brushing your teeth, showering, doing your laundry in the rain you're walking in, etc., etc.
The accident at the Fukushima plant.
And I'll turn it down, Dana. Did I leave that other volume up? Oh, I did. You left the volume up on the other one. So I can adjust it on this one. Then I can adjust it on the main, I adjust it on the main volume of the DVD players. And then I can adjust it on the actual, each individual video clip can be adjusted individually. Like just in this frame here, I have 6,000. And I have 9 of those frames, and the minimum is like 3,000 I got per frame on that side. And on this side, it's the same thing. But it's just one of them got, I don't know, thousands of graphics, for instance, blah, blah, blah. And then you got the ocean section, then you got the air section, radioactive fallout. It's like overwhelming.
Following the accident at the Fukushima plant, the Italian government
somebody besides
is freezing
me.
plans to build new nuclear power plants in the country. Earlier, the government had announced a 1-year moratorium on site selection and plant construction after the disaster in Japan.
Nuclear.
On Tuesday, the administration of Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi submitted a bill to the Senate that indefinitely shelves the construction of new plants. The bill states the move is necessary in order to compile further scientific evidence on the safety of nuclear plants. After the Chernobyl accident, Italy shut down all of its nuclear power stations and abandoned nuclear power generation. But the Berlusconi administration had come up with a plan to build new plants as a way to resolve the country's energy.
Now, what happened was, right, he shut it all down because he was realistic. And he was a pervert too, by the way. But he shut it down, the nuclear, and the nuclear came after him. Remember that, Berlusconi? What they done to him in the media? Right? They done the same thing to Merkel, right? When she said no to nuclear. Switzerland said no to nuclear. Finland is on the shelf. They can't get it to work. They're going to say no to nuclear at some near point. South Korea says no to more nuclear. There's a lot of countries. Riva just went buns up. I shouldn't give them those connotations because buns up is a good thing. Riva's dying on his back, screeching. It's not ready to go, but it's dying. And it's got in receivership. We got Paladin, which is Australia's biggest nuclear industry. Riva's the biggest on the planet. Then we have TEPCO is done. TEPCO's long gone. TEPCO doesn't exist. TEPCO's the Japanese government, which are demons, obviously. Their brains are rotted, from radiation. We got, so France is gone. You got Westinghouse is done. Took out Toshiba in North America at the same time. You have the big nuclear companies in North America with that are now closing nuclear power plants, desperation, trying to stay afloat. No one wants to give them money anymore. You have a waste repository ready to collapse again. You have Hanford. You would bankrupt every country on the planet. I can show you speakers that talk about you bankrupt America, but in reality, you would bankrupt every country on the planet just trying to clean up Hanford nuke site, which is hemorrhaging into the communities non-stop since they had a big rupture from a 40, 50-year-old deposit they buried on the site of fuel rods, desperate to get it somewhere. The rest of it they threw out in the Atlantics or the Pacific or in the Columbian River. It's really something. The unusual activity comes from secret Russian. Now, this was back in February 2017, when, right? Mysterious radiation spreads across Europe. This headline, I'm sorry, was from 2000. So remember that story where they're talking about iodine-131? Now, iodine-131 is only made in great volumes from a chain reaction. They try to equate it with medical stuff, right? Because they're just demons. They can't help but lie. They just can't help but lie. Surge in radiation particles across Europe, and experts don't know why. Wait now, you got 3 100% confirmed, up to 15 reactors, but 3 confirmed. 100%, no maybes about it. That's reactor 3, and that's reactor 4. And they're telling you it's gorgeous on the inside. So every time you have a major earthquake, like you just had there, an 8.4, which they disguised as a 5.9 on the Japanese scale, a seismic scale of 7, but never bothered to tell people. Remember the last earthquake there about a week and a half ago? I spent like hours and hours and hours trying to determine what scale it was. Even went to the sites that they were alleging to and couldn't get access. And then I forgot to follow up on it because there's so many other demons coming at me full tilt. So the fallout is 100%. That was the older headline. This is October 11th. Surge in radiation particles across Europe. And experts will not equate anything with Fukushima. No Fukushima. No Fukushima. No Fukushima. No. Gotta be something else. Probably North Korea. Yeah, but North Korea was covered in Fukushima radiation. Covered. It was covered. Comes the sun? Sweet. I wasn't looking forward to going out working on the trailer. I only got 2 wheels on the trailer, so it's brutal. You have if you have a flat tire, you can lose the whole show. So I can't go very fast, and I'm watching my mirrors the whole time. Get it in the water, take off for a month, come back, double check everything, grease up everything, get to your next spot, jump on the ferry. So I got 6 months of traveling in the hell with so much equipment you can't even wrap your mind around it. You can't wrap your mind around it. It's just like, I've literally got to be the stupidest person on the planet to even try. And I'm doing it by myself. I'm a total idiot. There's no maybes about this. Trying to get some of my color back, but you actually can't fix what you're looking at, even digitally, even if you wanted to. That's a joke. I like belittling myself sometimes, but I'm doing fine for someone my age. I'm not worried. I got no complaints. Looking back on this story, surge in radiation. Gotta try that one more time. Sometimes that's the way it goes. My apologies to everybody when I can't hit it perfect for an hour, 10 minutes maybe. We haven't got much more to go, maybe. Let's try a couple. I was thinking about 1, 2, 3, not that one.
7, 6, 5, 4.
Not that one. Hang on, I'll get it. So instead of doing like a whole song, just do like 10-second clips. I'll get better. So I just go in for like 10 seconds while I'm normally talking, then I slowly fade it back down. And then I just jump right into whatever I'm doing instead of like playing. I love it with music in the background because then I haven't got to listen to myself per se. When you edit yourself for a decade, it's tough. Because like I used to shoot videos 25 times in a row, is what I mean by that. And back in those days, you had shit equipment, so it was really difficult. But you wanted to tell a story, and you were doing the best you could. And now I've taken it to a level where there's no equal for me out here anywhere. I like to find my equal that does what I do. Surge in radioactive particles across Europe, and experts don't know why. On their side, willing to debate me or willing to fight with me. But see, I got 6 gag orders, so I'm censored. The terrifying radioactive wild boars of Fukushima. Shut up. Highly radioactive material missing in Iraq, right? October 11th. Yeah, but you shot depleted uranium munitions. You shot depleted uranium munitions in Iraq for 9 years. You fired 5.5 million rounds a month. You got McAllister's bomb manufacturing facility in McAllister with an A, Oklahoma. They got 3 bomb factory, bullet factories there. All they make is dirty bombs. I mean, depleted uranium munitions. I mean, dirty bombs. And the soldier fired 5 soldiers themselves, not the big ordnance. Like the Abrams tanks, they fire 10 pounds, 155 millimeters, or 10 pounds of solid uranium-238. It's not tipped, it's not coated. Who cares? Results from first sampling period at Kelp Watch 2015. Okay, this is Kyle Vetter's little sweetheart. Let's listen to Kyle. Here's Kyle, crazy Kyle. And call him.
There's probably someone on the panel foolish enough to address that question, but we are radiation safety professionals, and the licensing of nuclear power plants is really kind of out of our scope. I'm going to ask Dr. Vetter to talk briefly here. You haven't had an opportunity. I know you're an expert in dosimetry and measurements, so.
Well, the reason I haven't had an opportunity to talk is because there are no problems in the medical field.
Wait now, what? Okay, so originally in the medical field, there's no problem, so they were asking...
If a problem later occurs, they can say, well, the people on site, the workers made their own arbitrary decision to do this. It's not our fault. Another example, immediately after the first hydrogen explosion, TEPCO gave out an order a request to all of these labor dispatching companies, and they said, send us people who don't mind dying. At that
Send us people who don't mind dying. There's no harm, right?
I had an opportunity to talk is because there are no problems in the medical field.
As Kathleen Higley was right alongside of him. There's Richard Vetter. He was in charge of Kelp Watch. We're going to talk about that. So there's no problem, but like Arnie Gunnarsson were hiring people for 3 minutes.
Employees that could only stay on the job for 3 minutes before they exceeded their personnel exposure.
What's all? Like how he squints his eyes. So my brown shirt, I'm getting this weird glow off my shirt. Right, and so the screen does this weird effect too, where you get some of these colors, brightness comes across. Nobody's probably noticed it except for me, but I can't deal with it. I got to do something with it. It's like too much, man. Let's try it one more time. Oh crap, I'm bright. So all I done that time, let me try this again. I'm gonna bring down the brightness this time. Is that more natural, Dana? Yeah, still kind of bright or brownish. Stop playing with the camera, Dana. Play the freaking. So Arnie Gunnarsson was sending people in for 3 minutes. Let's talk about that for a second. TEPCO was asking for people who don't mind dying because gamma shine, X-rays, and neutron bursts. The buildings actually caught fire, blew up, and melted down. Shock. As expected, all kelp samples contain significant amounts of naturally occurring radioactive activity, primary due to potassium-40. I got something else on my mind. This is Kyle Vetter, right? That's what he's talking about. He's checking kelp for radiation, and he says, as expected, think about those 2 words, all kelp samples contain significant amounts of potassium-40, K40. You know, because dry kelp has a high potassium content. Also found were smaller amounts of other naturally occurring radioactive isotopes, including barium-7, with cosmogenics nuclear present in air and rain. So it's created in the upper atmosphere or by the sun from fusion, not fission, which is nuclear. And portions of uranium-238, which are indigenous to the planet, and thorium-232, they take thorium-232 and they bombard it, and it flips to uranium-232. They do the same thing with the thorium-233, right? They flip it to uranium-233. When both 232 uranium-233 uranium are fissions, not fusion, but fission products, which are not indigenous to the solar system. These are man-made. This is what we call a man-made isotopes. This is where we have dirty bomb fears, blah, blah, blah. And portions of uranium-238, thorium, radioactive decay chains. Okay. Cesium was detected in all West Coast samples, 137, at low levels, and the isotope is still detectable in marine environment due to above-ground nuclear weapons testing that took place mostly in the 50s and the 60s. So they conflated it with natural, then they conflated it with the bomb testing. And the very low limits set on the shorter-lived cesium-134 means the 137 cannot be directly tied to the Fukushima. It is more likely due to the legacy sources, which are nuclear testing. They call it legacy as if it's something good. For a sense of scale, a K40 activity, and this is the biggest betrayal conceivable, range from 2,500 to 4,500 becquerels per kilogram dry weight. For comparison, cesium is detected in all samples now at levels ranging from 0.08 to 0.44 becquerels a kilogram, or about 10,000 times lower than K40. So K40, everything on the planet has K40 in it. Why are you talking about it? It's got nothing to do with a chain reaction. You can have that in your body, it's irrelevant. A single man-made isotope can cause an illness or a disease, autoimmune deficiencies, injuries, illnesses down the road. And so what Kyle Vetter at Kelp Watch, once again, has done was confuse the crap out of everybody on the planet on purpose and then pretend he's not a demon. But when everybody laughs...
Problems in the medical field.
That's the media laughing. The media got the joke, see? All of them got the joke, and then the media also. Do you get it yet? That there's nobody on the planet like Arnie Gunnarsson is not going to tell you that. Arnie Gunnarsson has sold you out. Helen Caldicott sold you out. Christopher Busby sold you out 100%. They're the controlled opposition, 100%. That's unequivocally the fact. Court awards Fukushima residents a measly $3,200 for the nuclear disaster, allegedly. I thought it was $1,000. $3,200 for the nuclear, a measly. I like that headline, It's pretty cool. In the largest of about 30 lawsuits related to the 11 Fukushima disaster, the government and TEPCO. The court rejected demands for monthly compensations with radiation at the plaintiff's home until the radiation has fallen to pre-disaster level. So if you go to bust and you get a fake car from the factory with shit wrong with it, and they give you a loaner, you get to keep the loaner until they fix your car, right? The good faith clause, right? Don't worry. You can't be done with the nuclear industry because they can't even survive without, looting your country. That's how they survive. They loot everything and every community and all the resources. Not only is the financial reward a fraction of the 16 billion yen they sought, but the court also declined to require TEPCO to restore the levels of radioactivity at residents' home to what they were before the March. Fukushima evacuees to tell UN that Japan... I've redone that. Fukushima evacuees to tell UN that Japan violated their human rights. That's a pre-picture of this lady working in her fields. Now she's not allowed to go back, right? This was what she loved to do every day. And so when you have a nuclear accident, this is why Berlusconi and this is why Merkel and many others immediately sought to shut nuclear down permanently or at least temporarily until they were able to come up with solutions which they can't come up with. If you have a melted reactor there, it's coming here. Australia is not even allowed to have a reactor. The bozos. And they ship uranium everywhere and poison everybody. But their legislation says they can't have even though they knew back in the day they had all this uranium and the profiteers almost had their way, and then somebody made sense. Somebody's like, nah, we don't need it. Let's ship it everywhere else. We'll drive our real estate up in the future, but they didn't realize you destroyed the future. This lady was talking about, they'll tell the UN Human Rights Council that evacuees face financial hardship and are being forced to return to neighborhoods they believe are still unsafe almost 7 years after the disaster. There's one street there, a shopping street in Fukushima Prefecture, where 7 people dropped dead shopping. Just dropped dead. We feel abandoned by the Japanese governments and society, which is 100% true, and forcing some to reconsider a return to their former homes despite concerns over radiation. Seems barbaric. In addition, the government attempts to rebuild the Fukushima region by reopening what they call decontaminated neighborhoods. This is absolute ludicrous assertions that you can decontaminate anything. People should be allowed to choose whether or not to go back to their old home and be given the financial means to make that choice, because it's not their fault that nuclear hid everything away for 74 years and lied for 74 years. And so police are pointless. Police can't arrest them, therefore all they can do is fuck you over. So they're pointless people. They're pointless. Society is pointless if we can't hold them. And so this is where we are now. Society is pointless because your government is nothing but unbelievable maniacal lawyers. Gave me 6 gag orders. Refuse to listen to the facts. Then you got the universities perpetrated the crimes upon us endlessly, repetitively, repeatedly, and allowed this to happen by downplaying the effects. And then media has been literally like a demon for 74 years, alleging it's like a banana and a potato chip and walking in sunshine. Getting on airplanes and sleeping next to somebody. Never once have they fact-checked it. They've asked every scientist they have ever interviewed, and every one of them lied, and they've never once fact-checked it. Not a single time. They come out and they attacked me, vilified me, demonized me, made it impossible almost for me to do even a normal expedition without having to explain every facet of everything. Because they lied so much. They defunded me, they smeared me, arrested me, dragged me into court repeatedly. I'm still here, still kicking, still smashing back at these demons. In the Lydia village, where the evacuation order was lifted this March, not through science, but through sedition. There's no science anymore, it's sedition. Police can't arrest them. You got to go and complain to the university that spawned the criminal and has every incentive to not prosecute him. Oh, yeah, okay, well, we found him guilty. We're going to give him a mark on his record. Thank you for your time, sir. Yeah, but he ruined a billion people's lives. But that's just academics and science. Well, science is in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. You don't understand it. Your whole future depends upon you doing something moral. You could call places like idiot an open-air prison. I call it idiot now, by the way. Idiot. Because you've got to be an idiot to stay there. Like 100,000 people are stuck there. Open-air prison. Forces are impossible to decontaminate. This is Greenpeace's spokesperson, by the way. I'll get to that. Concerns over food safety, internal radiation, who never reached out to me a single time, never helped me a single part of the journey, who never rallied behind me when I got arrested for showing an extinction event in an entire coastline, who's never mentioned my fucking name, who's never investigated what I've done, who never tried to counter anything I've ever said. Greenpeace, that Greenpeace. And aside from making short visits to see relatives during Lauterbach, so you evacuate your communities. Who's the only person on the planet that's fighting Fukushima the way, like me, besides me, rather? Who? Name an activist on the planet with 6 gag orders the media doesn't want to interview. Or knows about, or mention. They didn't want to interview me, they demonized me. Notice you get whistleblowers, they get them up in the media, here's a whistleblower, right? They get me up there, a demon. He yelled at the corporations. The evacuations of forced families to live apart. It's okay, Dana, we're the nuclear industry. This is what we do for a living. We destroy everything we touch. We're scum. And that's why we got the job. That's the only way you can get the job. Greenpeace Japan, which is assisting that lady, in other words, getting the scoop on it. It has called on the government and given it to TEPCO. It has called on the government to declare Fukushima neighborhoods unsafe until atmospheric radiation is brought below 1 millisievert. What are they talking about? You're talking about atomic decays, counts per minute. What, Greenpeace doesn't know that at this stage? Really? All this time? They don't know that's how they're hiding it away from everybody, equating it with natural emitters? The millisieverts that they're talking about. By the way, sunshine is not going to show up in your Geiger counter. By the way, I need another Geiger counter, or get this one fixed, or whatever the problem. I can't take the money I got and spend on anything, only what I got it for. So I need that lens. That's $2,000. Somebody's people gonna have to start donating at some point so I can order it before it disappears, because the other, it's a second hand. Once that goes, it's $4,000 for the same one. And so if I can get it, I don't want to do this either. I don't want all this shit either. I don't want to babysit this. Everything I get means 10 times more work each time. But it's worth it. It's stupid as shit that no universities gave me all the gear. It's terrifying that all it's done to me is vilify me. While I was on the ocean the last time, 260 days, 15,000 miles, they tore me apart. They destroyed me online. They attacked me all day, every day I was gone. When I came ashore, nobody wanted anything to do with me. All I done was they took pictures of the coastline. But this industry just panicked. It went totally batshit crazy because I spoke about nuclear. It lost its mind. It became absolutely vicious. I've never even heard tell of anything like the way I was treated, the way I was attacked, the way I was singled out, the way I was smeared is unprecedented. They were out there in the comments section saying I was bleaching the shoreline, then getting pictures. But that tells you they understood, right, that the coastline was covered in life before, see? And no, the only way to get that picture was to go out and bleach the coastline. If you go back to that period and look up videos in that era when I was on the ocean, you'll find those comments all the time, everywhere you go where my name was mentioned. Those comments were showing up. I was out there, I had family out there with me bleaching the coastline, and then I was taking pictures. Because they understood pre-Fukushima, 99% of the coastline was covered in life. It was an amazing coastline. No, this was a nuclear industry so powerful. You got a million corporations, got the military, probably 50% of the military's budget goes to nuclear. It's a hideously expensive. The hospitals are making a fortune by murdering your loved ones at $50,000 chemo with radiation in it, treatment. Each time, each injection is about $50,000 to your insurance, or to the government insurance here in Canada. And so they murder everybody with those injections. 97% die before they would have without the treatment. It's not a treatment. You got to sign a piece of paper before you can get chemotherapy. It says the doctor's not responsible. It's an experimental. So all chemo they change chemo to every patient. It's different this, different that. Looking for this cure, that can't cure nothing. But they're not told that, right? They put out their numbers, then they're sent to chemo makeup from the military labs. That's all these people are. They're goblins. Think about Gilmedi. from Loveless Respiratory Research Institute in New Mexico. 144 big old dogs, and all the dogs die. But he done that for over now almost 4 decades. He killed the big old dogs and the big old puppies. He didn't give them painkillers. He didn't give them, right? They let these particular ones live out their life. Normally they sacrifice them within a period of time to see where the radiation goes to. They know everything about every facet and every aspect of radiation, and they know you can't treat somebody. So these dogs got cancer, what are you going to do? Going to give them more radiation? That's what you're doing to your loved ones in your hospital. Police are not going to go stop it or arrest anybody because they're too fucking stupid. They're too stupid. They're too fucking stupid. Get you for smoking a joint, get you because somebody called the cops and said they didn't like something about you, and then turn your life upside down. You can do that all day. They're demons. They're fucking get up there. There's no one there to help you. They'll fucking get there and they'll victimize you. The courtrooms all across our countries. Our country is full of people, victims from this fucking industry. So the police can't go arrest Gilnetty for torturing dogs. No, that's science. Yeah? Yeah, but at what point does it stop being science? When every dog dies in every study, and every animal, every country dies, at what point does it stop being torture or science and becomes actual torture? And because they won't share their information with each other, then they got to kill the same amount of dogs in the different studies in different countries. But don't ask MIT or Harvard or Yale or Berkeley or Stanford or Oxford or MIT to include his final judgment. These findings in dogs suggest that the similar dose-related biological effects could be expected in humans accidentally exposed to radioactive fallout. The biggest byproduct is curium. Curium acts just like uranium. Tumors, lung, skeleton, and liver occur beginning about 3 years after exposure. Bone tumors found in 93 dogs were the most common cause of death. Lung tumors in 46 dogs were the second most common cause of death. Do your loved ones die of lung tumors? Yeah? And they went in there and they gave them radiation and they made sure there was no way to survive. And they liquidated their assets because they believed the fable. Over and 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 over. For the last couple of decades, I watched my friends and families do it. Nobody survives. The dogs don't survive. Why do you think you're going to survive? Why do the police think that that's okay? Why does your media not give a fuck? Why does your media say it's like a banana? The media tells you this stuff is like a banana or a potato chip. You know I'm telling you the truth. You know you can go and look on their site and you'll find time about radiation fallout, and this is what they're going to tell you, one of these things here or all of them. I'm the bad person that wants a lens for $2,000 secondhand from Amazon because that's the only opportunity I'm going to get it. That guy. The only guy on the fucking planet. Period. Excuse the language. Dana Durnford, the nuclear proctologist.org. Send your hate mail to Dana Durnford at hotmail.com or whatever. Be gone on the ocean soon. Enough. And I won't be back for a very long time. 6, 7, 8 months. Because we got to go tell that story behind me. Of an extinction event. Yeah? We gotta go talk about an extinction event. Good God, man, that was your day. Oh, pretty good word. You know, when the show's over, I hate it when the show's over because my life becomes very complicated again. The only time I have a life is when I'm sat here with you guys. There's my life. And it's a glorious one. Let me touch up on that one more time then. Seems I'm here before we call it a day, a week, an hour, a month, a year. Let me refresh, hopefully. I don't know. Here we go. That one's $2,500. Sorry. The $1,800 is the 50 mil. That's a better one. I'm sorry. That one's the better one. But I can get this one for $1,800. It's normally, well, depending on who you're buying, $3,200, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And these are all color corrected each to the same. And so the professional lenses, but they're not the real lenses. The real lenses are like $10,000 to $25,000 each. But these are acceptable. And so I'm trying to raise enough money to get that one there before it's sold to somebody else for $1,849. We got everything else now, right? We haven't ordered. The money will be in my account in a couple of days. My bank account, it takes 4 or 5 days to show up in my bank account. And then I'll get that one. Well, the $1,300 version. And I like to buy that stuff, but we haven't raised any money. I'd rather raise the money and just get the lens and forget about the other stuff. Forget about that stuff. This is the one I'm going to buy, not the $2,200 one, because that's the only one I can afford. And I'll buy the cheap, or the Go clip, one of those. And I'll do it without the thumb controller, the extra batteries, and the case, and the feet, and everything else, to get my hands on just one of these guys. Preferably, like this, these are all the same one, but different prices from different dealers. Some of these are American, no, Canadian. Delivered before the end of the month, arrives between October the 16th. I'll just pay the extra shipping and get it shipped in. And this Micro Four Thirds for the big bad camera. And that lens also works for the handheld camera, but that camera will be on the beach on the gimbal. So that big camera goes on the gimbal. And it won't have all the extra bells and whistles on it because I'll mount them on the handles of the gimbal. So it'll take the weight off the gimbal because I can mount the screen up on the handles where the gimbal doesn't have to throw the screen around. I only got to throw the camera around, right? And you can't lean over and look all the time like that with the gimbal, so you got a screen on the top. And that's a real screen on that camera. That's a memory card, 4K. That's $2,200 for that screen. It's incredible. You can do color correction type before you record. Not color correction. We got a board for that. So we're all down. We're basically down. I can do without it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just talking it out today because I might forget from here on out. The sooner, if I'm going to get it, I'm tempted to take the money that I got put away for the trip and just grab it. Anyway, you can donate underneath my video. This one's $2,500. We can buy the whole set for $15,000. At some point I will, of course, but it won't be this trip, I'm sure. I'd much rather have the $15,000, just go do the whole coastline. For fuel, it's going to be $6,000 a month minimum. You're looking at 1,100 liters every 7-8 days, and then $400 or $500 in fuel, hotel room for a couple of days, bandwidth, food, laundry, transportation, ferries to the next spot. It's a very ambitious plan, obviously. But we got all the equipment. We got the drone. On the way, it'll be here probably this Friday, hopefully. And by Monday, Tuesday, the underwater drone will be here, etc., etc., etc. And just, was there anything else I missed here before we give it up? Let me double check. Because you know me, I put so much in there, you can't keep up with it. Yeah, there you go, the last set of headlines. Fukushima evacuees abandoned by the Japanese government. This is South China Morning Herald. This is China, big media. That's the big media too, man. Morning Post. Fukushima evacuees abandoned by the Japanese government. They're quoting that same Greenpeace. The government raised the level of acceptable exposure to the same standards as nuclear workers, which is in millisieverts. You don't count in millisieverts, you count in counts per minute. If you're getting millisieverts, you shouldn't be there, period. If it's from a man-made stuff. You picked up 30 million one-ton bags. They're showing you the bags and the reactors. So the mothers say they've been labeled neurotic, irrational, overprotective. Our worries about radiation dismissed, and division and divorce have been common. The mothers are trying to protect the children, and the government is scolding for them. Don't worry about it. Just go on and eat your breakfast. Send them to do your shit. And don't worry about radiation. Leave it to us. We're picking it up, so to speak, which there can't be done. Citizens were pressured to return to Fukushima. Research said radiation levels still exceeded the government's long-term goals. So they're not coming out harshly and demanding the government give it up, which is what they should be doing, but at least they're talking about it. Because evacuation orders have been lifted, Tokyo Electric Power Company, which doesn't exist, absorbed by the government, will also stop compensation for victims by March 2018. We need this accommodation support to continue any kind of stable life, said the victims who lost everything and were forced to run away and were contaminated and were left to suffer. Before Fukushima, they said a major accident could not happen. Now they say radiation is not a problem, right? Before they say it couldn't happen, now it's not a problem. They say hardly any compensation is needed. And nuclear victims don't seem to have the right to be free from radiation. And there's no police can touch them. They won't even try. Police don't give a fuck. Too stupid to give a fuck. Too stupid to be a hero. Too stupid to do the moral thing. Too incapable of getting a job like that done. Too fucking stupid to go up and try to convict one of these idiots. So easy to do it. A moron could do it. But a cop, no way. Couldn't fucking do it. Can't be done. Too stupid to even try. No, too hard for me. Never caught and smoking a joint. I can't do fuck all. I can't bully these guys, Dana. I know, shithead. Don't worry about it. If the Japanese government doesn't support the nuclear survivors, what's stopping other countries from doing the same in the future? If you're not going to hold the Japanese nuclear industry accountable, when it happens in your area, are you going to wind in? Because it won't matter, because nobody will hear you. They're only going to hear you if you make yourself heard. You never made yourself heard for the other ones. Why do you think it's going to work opposite? Yeah, don't worry about it. It's like a banana and a potato chip walking in the sunshine. What'd you say? It's coming to that, right? Because nobody else will. So we're going to have to bring back good old vigilante and just get rid of the demons. I'm not saying go ahead and do that. I'm just saying that's the evolution we're headed for, right? No one's going to hold them accountable. What's going to happen? Right? I can tell you what's going to happen, but hey, I got 6 gag orders. Not really interested in anymore. Hi, everybody. Good morning, everybody. And so, that's the end of it. Hour and 35 minutes. Gee, I thought it was going to go at least 2 hours. Getting slack. Probably forgot some. Who knows? Can't win them all. Well, we made it that far, so that's a good thing. A little bit of music to brighten up the end of the show. So as we all go back on our way again. We got a little skip in our little hop, you know. And it was a good show today. Unfortunately, like, to me, when I gotta do what I'm gonna do and ask people for money over and over and over and over and over and over and over, it's tough, man. So tough. Every day it's just so incredibly, unbelievably tough. To do it once is inconceivable. To do it constantly and to gather it up in increments, piece by piece by piece, and build that whole operation, get out and put it to work, make it back, upload it again, seems surreal. Yet here we go again. We're going to give it our best shot. We're way ahead of what we were before. I got nothing to complain about, even if we don't succeed. It won't be from lack of trying. It won't be for lack of willingness. It won't be for lack of smart. It'll be just, it wasn't our time. That's the only thing that'll stop us. But to me, it's our time. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can slow me down. At this stage, nothing's going to change the course that we got plotted. We're setting history. We're making it happen. We're the real deal. Where everybody else has failed, we have succeeded. And we'll continue that trend. And we'll pave the way for the future generations to continue that trend. The trend is life, not death. Works for everybody.